Hello everybody. If you want to read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short story 642, The Night Shift, Upper Beginner. It was Alex's first night as a security guard. He sat in the quiet, cold office building. It was 100 floors high. He was on the ground floor. The clock said 2 a.m. Everything was dark and still. He watched the cameras on his computer screen. Then on one screen, a light turned on. It was a computer in an office on the 55th floor. Alex felt his heart beat faster. He was alone. He took his torch and went to the lift. The lift doors opened quietly. He went up to floor 55. The doors opened. The office was quiet, but a single computer screen was bright. He walked slowly towards it. A door to the next office opened just a little. A small sound came from inside. Alex was scared. He spoke in a loud voice. "Hello? Is anyone there?" There was no answer. He pushed the door open. A man was sitting at a desk. The man looked up, surprised. "Oh, hello," the man said. "I'm Leo. I'm a programmer. I'm just fixing a small problem with the security system." He smiled. "Sorry, I forgot to tell security I was here." Alex felt his fear disappear. "That's okay," he said. "It's my first night." He looked at the man's screen. There were lots of green lines of code. Alex smiled back. Everything was fine. Vocabulary notes. Security guard. A security guard is a person who protects a building or an area. Example: it was Alex's first night as a security guard. Similar words: protector, watchman. Clock. A clock is an object that shows the time. Example: the clock said 2 a.m. Similar words: timepiece. Screen. A screen is the flat glass part of a computer or television where images are shown. Example: he watched the cameras on his computer screen. Similar words: monitor, display. Lift. A lift is a small room that moves up and down inside a building, carrying people and things. Example: he took his torch and went to the lift. Similar words: elevator. This is the American English word. Programmer. A programmer is a person who writes code for computers. Example: I'm a programmer. Similar words: software developer, coder. Story written by Gemini AI. Image created by onemin.ai. To read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you.
Have you ever wondered what makes a story stick in your head? Well, today, we're going to break down a really simple story to see the secret sauce that makes it such a powerful learning tool. Okay, let's get into it. So, our story kicks off right here. Just 5 words. But, boom, the mood is set. It's late, it's super quiet, and we're immediately dropped into a time and place that just feels full of suspense. And here's our guy, Alex. And check out his situation. He's in this massive 100-floor tower, and he's the only one there. The sheer size of the building just makes you feel how completely isolated he is. And just in case you missed it, the story drives that point right home. This sentence, it's not just a fact, it's a feeling, right? It's the foundation for all the tension that's about to build. You can almost hear the silence. So first up, let's just go along for the ride. We're going to trace how this story builds up the suspense and pulls us right into the action, making us feel what the character feels. And there it is, the thing that changes everything. In all that quiet and darkness, one little light just flicks on. It's totally unexpected. We don't know why. The mystery has officially begun. And this is key. The story connects what's happening out there, the light, to what's happening inside Alex. We don't just know something happened, we can actually feel his fear through his racing heart. It makes it so much more real.
So the suspense just keeps ramping up step by step. You have the quiet ride in the lift, then you see the door is already ajar, and then you hear that little weird sound. The story is using all the classic tricks to pull us closer and closer to whatever's waiting.
And this is the question hanging in the air for everyone, right? For Alex and for us. Is it some kind of danger, an intruder? The story has put us right there in his shoes, and now we're just as anxious to find out what's going on. Okay, now let's pull back the curtain. Because what feels like just a simple, spooky story is actually a super clever blueprint for learning. It's time to pop the hood and see how this whole thing is built to work. You see, it follows this classic four-part structure. You get the setup, which gives us the basics. Then the tension builds, and that's what makes us curious. Then comes the twist, which totally flips our expectations. And finally, the relief, that pooh moment that helps lock the whole experience in our memory. It's a full journey. And that twist is absolutely the most important part. On the left, you've got what Alex, and let's be honest, us too, was imagining, the worst-case scenario. But the reality on the right, it's something completely normal and harmless. It's that huge gap between what we feared and what was real that makes it so powerful. And here's the exact moment it happens. In one simple line of dialogue, all that tension just melts away. But notice what else just happened. The story very naturally introduced a brand new vocabulary word, programmer, right when we were paying the most attention. Which brings us to the next layer here, the actual explicit learning part. This isn't just a story for fun, it's a delivery system for new words. So let's see exactly how it makes sure those new words stick. So take the word lift. We first heard it when Alex was doing something. He takes the lift. We see the word in action. It's only after the story is done that we get this nice, clean definition. You get the context first, then the explanation. And it's the exact same playbook for the word programmer. We meet Leo, the programmer. He's the guy who solves the mystery. He's an actual character, not just some word on a flashcard. And that makes the word and what it means so much easier to remember. You know what's also really smart about this? The focus. The story isn't trying to throw a dozen new words at you, it's just targeting 5. That makes the whole thing feel way less intimidating and a lot more achievable. And then to really hammer it home, you get this recap. And it's great because it doesn't just list the words again, it gives you synonyms, other ways to say the same thing, like elevator for lift. It builds a much richer understanding. So let's tie this all together. Why does this mix of a simple story and some vocabulary notes work so well? Well, it all boils down to this really powerful idea called contextual learning. Here's the recipe for making learning stick. The words are tied to actions. There's a clear beginning, middle, and end. But the real secret ingredient? It's the emotional connection. That journey from being scared to feeling relieved creates a really strong memory because our brains are basically hardwired to remember things that make us feel something. And really, it all comes down to this. The story gives us the why. Why should I care about this word, programmer? Well, because he's the answer to the whole mystery. And then the notes give us the what, the simple, clear definition. It's the perfect 1-2 punch. Which leaves us with a final thought to chew on. When we're trying to learn something new, maybe the first thing we need isn't a textbook or a list of facts, but just a good story. Could it be that a compelling narrative is the best teacher we have? It's something to think about.